Test cricket may be the flavor of the season. India finished the India-Bangladesh Test series. After that, it's time for the India versus New Zealand Test series. All eyes are on the Border Gavaskar Trophy in November, December. But before that, later this month, 31st October, the deadline is when all the 10 franchises of the IPL are supposed to submit their list of retentions by the end of this month. 31st October is that the deadline. Before that, lots of speculations and lot of chatter on social media about who could be the potential retentions and who are the players who could go into the auction. But something that really stood out when those mega auction rules came out were the rules for foreign players who tend to pull out of the IPL after being selected, or maybe they don't even give their names for the auction. They just rule out due to personal reasons or different reasons. The many rules came to that, and Pat Cummins finally spoke up on that. Being a foreign player himself, he was in a recent interview, he was asked about what he thinks about the rule, and he had something to say about it. He said, "There's a bit of a tweak in the rules, but I don't know whether that would have affected me in the past. I've never pulled out after the auction, but it is one more factor to consider with the IPL this time around." Pat Cummins said that he has not gone too much into the rule. He hasn't known about the rule so much as of now. But this is going to be something that is going to be in the consideration of all the players when they decide to be in the auction or not be in the auction. Another interesting thing that Pat Cummins said was that it would have never affected him even if this rule was in the past, because he has never pulled out of the IPL after giving his name in the auction. But what is so interesting here is that if Pat Cummins decides not to be part of this IPL and he decides to be out of the IPL 2025, keeping in mind the hectic schedule that the Australian team is going to have. He's also captaining the team. He's not getting any younger. He talked about that in that interview also. And his first priority being Test cricket. I'm going to taking you through that also after this side. But before that, the rules suggest that overseas players who make themselves unavailable for an IPL season after being signed at an auction without legitimate reason will be penalized with 2 years ban. Any player who comes into the auction and then gets sold to a team and then decides to come out of the auction, until and unless it's not for any specific medical reason or injury, and even if he is injured, the home board needs to give the clearance for that, then only the 2-year ban can be skipped. Otherwise, if it's personal reasons or the reasons are not legitimate, the player will be banned for 2 years. But what's interesting in this rule, just a sub point to this rule, so is to say, is that if additionally an overseas player who does not register for the mega auction will not be allowed to register for the subsequent mini auction, with exceptions only made in case of injuries and or medical conditions confirmed by the player's home board. This is really interesting because if a player does not even, if a player, these are two different things. If an overseas player comes in the auctions, gets sold, and then rules himself out without any solid reason, he would be straight away be banned for 2 years. But if a foreign player does not give his name altogether for the auction, then he will, until and unless it's a legitimate reason, if he doesn't give his name at all, he will not be allowed to be part of the next mini auction that is to take place for the 2026 season. So this is something that will really is in the benefit of the franchise, because if Pat Cummins or any foreign player for that matter decides not to give their name in the mega auction and they want to stay out of the auction, then they have to keep in mind that they will not be able to play the next auction also, and next IPL also, the 2026 IPL, and that IPL is going to be really important for all the foreign players because the same year the T20 World Cup is also to be played in India. So that is something, an advantage they will miss out on if they decide to pull themselves out of the IPL this time around. So that is something Pat Cummins will have to keep in mind. He also said that that's another consideration factor going into this IPL. He was really clear about one more thing, and that was that what he said was that Test cricket is the absolute #1 priority. World Cups are right up there, and then I think you use them as your tent poles and work out what else makes sense around that. When asked about that, how is he going to plan his next year and all of IPL, how is he going to manage all of these things, he talked about that he's still not made his final decision about it. He will look into it. He will see how, if the calendar allows him or not. But what he's very clear is about that whatever the plan is only going to be possible if there are no World Cups and Test cricket around that time, because that he has very clearly said that he is going to definitely keep an eye on that. Those are the two foundations of how he wants to go about his cricket. So that is why he has said that is not something that he has as of now decided. But Pat Cummins needs to remember this, that as of now, if he has not decided on what the next year holds for him, there is not much time for the franchise to give their retention players out. If Pat Cummins is to captain the Sunrisers Hyderabad, he's also a very important figure in that Sunrisers team. Took that team to the final last time around as a skipper. So if Sunrisers want to retain Pat Cummins, if they want to avail his services as a bowler and as a captain, they need to have this discussion with Pat Cummins and then take the call accordingly. And Pat Cummins needs to see, you have the Ashes also coming up, all of these things, and he's mentioned that Test cricket is going to be the priority. So all these discussions need to be really quick, and because there is not too much time left until the time the franchises can give their final list of retentions. So for now, that was it from me on Sports Today. For all such news and all such exclusive stories, you need to subscribe to Sports Today, and if you like this video, do not forget to press the like button as well.